What's up everybody, welcome back to Unparalleled Universe for another action figure review, and today we're taking a look at the brand new McFarlaneToys Flashpoint Batman. And I've got to say, buying this figure was one of the easiest action figure purchasing experiences I've ever had. Basically, all I did was go online, place my order online for the curbside pickup. I ordered this guy and the Marvel Legends Retro Rogue and the Marvel Legends Retro Gambit. So I placed my order. The next morning, I just drove up to Target and they brought the bags out to me. It was so awesome. I wish that all my action figure buying experiences could be that simple. Hopefully, this is the way that exclusives are handled going forward, because this year every time something was announced as a Target exclusive, there was a big uproar. People were all pissed off. But to be honest, I think that most of the Target exclusives were pretty easy to get, except for the G.I. Joe stuff. But most of the other stuff worked out pretty good. I did have some trouble with some of the NECA turtles as well, but you know, it was kind of hit or miss for me. I was able to find some, I wasn't able to find some, but at the end of the day, I think I got my hands on most of the ones I wanted, either with help or walking into the store them myself or pre-ordering them. So, you know, it's kind of worked out. I think G.I. Joes are pretty much the only ones where they dropped the ball, but I really hope that it goes the way that it did with this Batman and those Legends figures, because it was a very pleasant experience. Didn't have to walk into Target with DPCI numbers, bugging a bunch of employees that seemed super annoyed to be helping out. Which, you know, I could get as frustrating. You got these like grown-ass toy nerds in there asking about toys with numbers and, you know, all kinds of weird stuff. But so I could get their frustration sometimes. But luckily, you know, I didn't have to deal with that. This was just very simple. But enough of that. I just wanted to kind of throw out how happy I was with that experience. But let's go ahead and get into this, starting off with the packaging. Obviously, I've already taken Thomas Wayne out of the packaging here. And on the back of the box, we have some really nice artwork of the Flashpoint Batman. That looks nice. Down here, we get some more comic book artwork of some figures that McFarlaneToys has released recently. It's not pictures of the toys. It's just comic book art. And but you know, you get an idea of some recent releases from the company, so that's cool. But aside from that, the box is exactly the same as all the other McFarlane multiverse figures. It is collector friendly and all that good stuff. But enough about the box. Let's go ahead and talk about Thomas Wayne. So here he is, and you know what? This is a really nice figure. I like a lot of things that we have going on here. There's definitely some negatives, but for me, McFarlaneToys is always hit or miss. And in this case, I think it's a hit, you know. There are some things where I'm like, come on. But for the most part, I'm pretty happy with it. The one big negative I have with this figure, and you know, I'm sure people get tired of me saying this, but it's the lack of thigh swivel. I know everybody gets frustrated with that, and I'm sure it's like a point that people are tired of hearing about. But the reason why it's worth bringing up with this figure, and why it's a little bit more frustrating, is because they had a perfect spot to put a thigh swivel without obstructing the sculpt or doing anything. They could have put the thigh swivel right here in these straps, like somewhere around these straps. They could have made it happen, but they didn't, and that's when it gets really, really frustrating. And also, like with some of the multiverse figures, there's enough room in the thigh to get a little bit of movement, but that's not the case here. So it's not moving pretty much at all. So that's very frustrating, you know. But it is what it is. I knew that it wasn't going to have a thigh swivel when I picked it up. I still bought it anyway, so I can't really be too mad about it. But like I said, it's just frustrating because they had the perfect opportunity to slip it in here without, you know, messing up the sculpt. It would have made us collectors happy, and it would have kept McFarlane happy for, you know, not messing up the sculpt. Aside from that, I think this is a really good looking figure. There's some really good stuff going on, a lot of good sculpting work. I will say that I'm not a big fan of the abrupt cuts that we have right here on the wrist and on the ankles, but you know, it looks like they could have like hidden the ball joint a little bit better in both of those areas, but they just kind of threw them in there. And you know, it's not a big problem when you're looking at the figure overall. It doesn't stand out that bad, but when you start inspecting things and you just start looking at it, it's like, oh yeah, these flat parts on the wrist and ankles are pretty ugly. But, you know, that's not really anything that's ruining the figure for me. It's just something that I wish that they would improve on, these cuts. But aside from that, I think this is a really good looking figure. I really like the way this head sculpt looks with the red eyes, and they kind of look sunken back. And it looks really nice. It actually looks like a dude wearing a mask. And then for the lower part of the face, we do have like a grimace. He does look definitely grumpy. You know, he doesn't look very happy about the situation that he's in. But yeah, that face sculpt looks nice. And then we do have a bit of a 5 o'clock shadow going on, or like a stubble from like a goatee. So that looks cool. And I really like the short ears on the head too. It reminds me of like Dark Knight Returns. And then moving down into the body, there is some sculpted work on the chest. We see some lines and things like that. The bat emblem right in the center of the chest looks really good, so I do like that. And then the pouches look nice too. There's a lot of really good sculpted detail on there. We've got a bunch of buckles and straps and pouches and all kinds of good stuff. So I think that came out nice. And then down on the side we have these holsters that look really good too. And you are able to fit the guns into the holsters with no problem at all. So I do like that a lot. And then moving down, we do have some good sculpting work. There's those straps at the thighs. And then we have some kneecaps. The lower legs have these crazy looking armored boots, so I do like that. And then moving up to the arm too, we have some cool looking sculpted armor type of forearm pieces, and you can see there's some pretty nice sculpting in there. There's not a whole lot of paint to bring out the detail really, but the sculpting work is definitely there. So overall, I think the sculpting work on this guy is pretty good, and the figure looks nice, so I am happy with the way that he turned out. And for accessories, the only things that Thomas Wayne come with are his 2 guns, and these 2 guns are really nice. There is some nice paint work on them. We have some shading and they're sculpted very well. So I think the guns came out really, really good. And then aside from that, he does come with the standard McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse stand. And then he does have the trading card, which I always appreciate that they include these. And we do have a little bit of information on the back talking about how Thomas Wayne came to be Batman. So I do appreciate these trading cards. I like the fact that they include these. And the stand is nice too, because these figures do have problems standing sometimes, but I think these stands definitely help out a little bit. You put them on there and he should have no problem just hanging out on the shelf. But without the stand, there's definitely some issues sometimes. So even though the stands are simple, I do like them. And they have come in useful for other figures too. I've been using them for NECA figures. So that's pretty much it for accessories, but let's go ahead and do some size comparisons. So first off, we have Thomas Wayne alongside the DC Multiverse Grim Knight and DC Multiverse White Knight Batman. And I would say that these 3 are my favorite Batman figures from McFarlane Toys. I like these ones a lot. He hasn't really given us just a good straight up classic Batman. He does have a couple of regular Batman figures that have come out, but I haven't liked any of them. But these 3 right here are all really nice figures in my opinion. So again, hit or miss when it comes to McFarlane Toys. But luckily he's given us a couple of good Batmans. And then next up we have Tommy Bats alongside the McFarlane Toys Superman and McFarlane Toys Flash. And then next up we have Thomas Wayne Batman alongside the NECA DC vs. Dark Horse Batman and Superman. And then here we have him alongside the Arkham Joker and the McFarlane Toys Azrael. And that's another really nice McFarlane Toys figure. And I liked him even more after I put in the thigh swivel. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like I'm going to be able to put a thigh swivel on Thomas Wayne, because I was talking to Bill Mahoney and it sounds like if I cut anywhere near the straps, it's too far from the peg. I'm not able to get the peg all the way down there, so I don't know if it's going to work, or it just might be more work than I want to do. You know, so that does kind of suck, but you know, it is what it is. And then for the final size comparison, we have Thomas Wayne alongside the Marvel Legends Pizza Spider-Man and Marvel Legends Bucky Cap. And then now for the articulation. Let's go ahead and take a look. I would say that, you know, he has pretty standard McFarlane Toys articulation, which I wish there was a little bit more going on, but I think for the most part I'm having fun posing him around and playing with them, and I think that you could do pretty much most of the stuff that you'd want to do with Batman. But anyways, let's take a look. So first off, his head is on a little ball joint, so it does move side to side. It's got a pretty nice tilt to it actually. That's dope. And let's see, you can look up to about right there, which isn't too bad. It looks down to right there. And then for the torso, we do have a mid-torso cut, so you can move that around like that. The mid-torso cut itself only crunches forward to right there, but he also has a ball joint at the waist. So using both of those, you get a little bit more crunch. It's not a crazy amount, but, you know, it's decent. So there you go. And then it could go back to right there. It seems like the McFarlane Toys figures are able to go back way more than forward. So there you go. Look at how far he could go back. That's pretty good. And then he does have like a twist at the mid-torso and kind of a twist at the waist, but it's a little bit easier to get it going from the mid-torso. So I do wish that he could crunch forward a little bit more, but at the same time, I'm okay with what we have. And then for the arms, he does have the McFarlane Toys butterfly jointed shoulder type of deal, so that's cool. Then his arm can go all the way around, but it's a little hindered because of the way the cape drapes over the shoulders. And then he does have upper bicep swivel, double jointed elbows, which get a pretty good bend. And then for the legs, oh wait, hold on, forgot the wrist here. At the wrist we do have the ball joint, which you're able to get his hand to swivel around at the hand itself and at the ball joint if you want. And then it also has a hinge, but you could just kind of adjust the ball joint to get it however you want. So the arms are pretty decent. Then for the legs, he's able to get his legs out to about right there. You could kick them forward only to about right there. I want to see how much the upper torso gets hindered by the hip joint. Yeah, see, it's kind of like how Deathstroke had, but see, the thing with Deathstroke, there wasn't enough positive qualities to redeem him from some of the negative things, you know. Like this Batman, like I don't really like what's going on here with the leg, but at least, I mean, it gets up a little higher actually, but you know, there's enough good stuff here for me to like take it easy on the hip situation, you know. No, but actually, it's definitely better than Deathstroke, so I don't know what I'm talking about. I think we're good. That looks pretty good right there. Still get a little bit of torso movement, and his legs. Again, no upper thigh swivel, which is a shame because they could have put it in here and made us all happy. Without sacrificing his integrity about sculpt, you know. And then he does have double jointed knees. No lower leg swivel, but he does have a swivel at the wrist, at the ankle, because he's got like a ball joint at the ankle. So you got a swivel, you could hinge forward to there, hinge forward to there. And we've got some rocking action at the ankles, and then we have a toe hinge. So I would say that the articulation on this figure is decent, but it definitely could have been a lot better if they would have put in that upper thigh swivel. And it's so frustrating and just mind-boggling that they decided to leave that out, because they had the perfect opportunity to put it in there without messing up the sculpt, and it would have made this figure so much better. So it's like, why leave it out? You know, what's the excuse? I would love to hear the excuse as to why this figure doesn't have an upper thigh swivel. It just doesn't make sense to me. And another reason why he's a little bit more restricted in the hips than some other figures that we've seen from McFarlane Toys is that the pelvis area, or the underwear piece, whatever you want to call it, is more of a solid plastic, and it's not like a rubber overlay like we've seen in the past. So the articulation is restricted in that regard as well, on top of the lack of the upper thigh swivel. So there's not a whole lot you could do with the hips and the upper thighs. You know, it's really restricted. But I will say, I'm still having a lot of fun posing around this figure. And even though the hips suck, I'm not really letting it ruin my day, you know. I'm having fun messing with this figure, and I do like it. I think they did a good job with it. And you know, this might sound like a bunch of bullshit, just me trying to justify some of the articulation shortcomings, but as far as I remember, this version of Batman isn't like the crazy martial artist that Bruce Wayne is. Thomas Wayne is more like a Punisher type of Batman, right? It's been a while since I've checked out Flashpoint, so I could be completely talking out of my ass, you know? I don't know, but that's kind of the vibe I get from him, is that he's more of like a Punisher type. So maybe, you know, the articulation restrictions don't really bug me because I kind of have that in mind. It's like, I don't really care if he could kick Joker in the mouth because he could shoot him in the face. What's the difference, right? I don't know. That's kind of where I'm at with this figure, and it's kind of helping me cope with the articulation shortcomings. But yeah, overall, I think this is a cool figure. I do like it. It's fun to mess around with. The articulation is decent. I think the sculpting work is very well done. The figure looks nice. The accessories are cool. I do like the guns that he comes with. I do wish that he came with a little bit more. It would have been nice if he had some extra hands, or if he would have got that unmasked head rather than making us buy like another version to get the unmasked head. I'll probably pass on that, but it would have been cool if they included that in here. It kind of sucks that they didn't, you know. But yeah, some more accessories would have been nice. But aside from that, I would say I'm pretty happy with this figure. And like I said, with McFarlane Toys, I'm kind of hit or miss. Sometimes I like them, sometimes I really hate them. But in this case, I think this is a good one. I think a lot of people just assume that I hate all McFarlane Toys figures, and that's not the case. When they make good figures, I definitely appreciate them and acknowledge them, but when they make bad ones, I definitely recognize that as well. But in this case, this is a good figure and I'm really happy with it. But anyways, I think that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Also, be sure to hit the bell notification so you know every time that I go live. And also, in this last month of the year, I'm going to try to go as hard as I can, try to put out as many videos as I can, because I really want to try to get to 35,000 subscribers by the end of 2020. I've got less than a month to do it, so if you're not subscribed to me already, please be sure to do that and help me get to that 35K mark. I would really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Peace.